You ever get the feeling like you need a supercomputer just to keep up with all the latest tech these days? It's like they're always talking about graphics cards, and it seems like if you don't have the absolute top-of-the-line model, then you're stuck in the Stone Age or something.
Yeah, it really is that constant upgrade cycle. The feeling that we always need more power and more power and more power.
All right.
But today, we're going to take a bit of a different approach. We're going to look at how some very different observations from a bunch of different fields kind of led us to this idea of a tool that was built around efficiency instead.
Yeah.
From the crazy world of gaming to education to video editing, all of them kind of pointing towards this idea.
Exactly. And it really is a fascinating combination of sources, too. We've got personal observations, we've got industry trends, and then we're even taking a close look at this application called MarkerFlow.
And our mission today is to try to understand what the thinking was behind this. In a world where everyone's telling you to buy the newest, biggest, fastest thing, what's the argument for being more streamlined, and what's the hidden value in that approach?
Okay, so let's unpack this whole thing. I think the starting point for me was all the buzz around the NVIDIA GTX 5070. Like, the initial hype was all about how this thing could go toe-to-toe with the big dogs. People were even saying it could take on the RTX 4090.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I was really intrigued.
Yeah, the promise of high-end performance without that high-end price tag always gets people excited. But, like with most things, there's often a lot more to the story than those attention-grabbing headlines.
And in this case, the story, as some reviewers started to point out, was kind of a trick. The smooth 60 frames per second they were talking about at 4K resolution, well, it turned out that was really only possible because of DLSS 4.
And it's fascinating how DLSS 4 actually works in this situation. It's basically using AI to upscale the image. So your monitor might be displaying a 4K picture, but the game itself is actually running at a much lower resolution. I'm talking like 480p in some cases. And then the AI kind of stretches and fills in the missing pixels.
Oh, wow.
It can even create totally new frames to hit that 60 frames per second target.
So it's not real 4K rendering.
No.
Those extra frames are literally being fabricated by some algorithm. It's like this super convincing illusion of power, right? Which makes you wonder what we really care about.
Right.
Do we care about the actual performance or just the appearance of high performance?
That's a good question. It makes you think about how marketing can play a role.
Yeah.
They can highlight these really impressive sounding specs, even if the actual user experience is kind of like, I don't know what's the right word.
Faking it.
Yeah. Let's call it creative optimization.
Yeah.
But this observation actually led us to another interesting example, and that was lossless scaling.
Yeah, tell me about that, because it sounds like it's in the same realm, but with a different goal in mind.
Yeah. Exactly. Lossless scaling also uses AI upscaling techniques to try and make things look better on less powerful hardware. But the main idea with this one is to give older systems or even integrated graphics a bit of a boost. It's really about making games playable and enjoyable on a wider range of machines, prioritizing accessibility rather than trying to pretend you have this super high-end computer.
So one is sort of stretching the truth about what the hardware can do, while the other one's about making the most of what you already have.
Right.
That's a really key difference.
Yeah.
And this actually connects to our next point pretty well, which is this idea of going beyond just pure graphical horsepower in gaming.
Exactly. So we started looking at some of the struggles that big game studios are having. These studios are spending a ton of money making these games with super realistic graphics, cutting edge stuff. But some of these games don't really resonate with players.
Right.
And they don't achieve that big commercial success that everyone expects.
And then on the flip side, you've got these smaller studios that are having massive, and I mean massive success. Like, look at the creators of Angry Birds.
Exactly.
That game, with its super simple graphics, became a global phenomenon and made a ridiculous amount of money. It makes you question what really makes a game successful.
And so the question becomes, is chasing the most advanced graphics always the best way to be successful in gaming? Angry Birds and games like that show us that fun gameplay, engaging mechanics, and accessibility, all of those can be more important than how realistic the graphics are.
Yeah, people don't always need the most beautiful graphics if the game is fun to play.
Right.
It's like players are voting with their time and their wallets, and they're choosing the games that are enjoyable, not just the ones that look the best.
Exactly.
This led us to an interesting parallel in a totally different area, higher education in the Philippines.
Yeah. This was a fascinating comparison. We looked at the big four universities in the Philippines: UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, and UST. These are generally considered to be the most prestigious universities, and they're also the most expensive.
Right.
They're known for their academic rigor, and they're seen as the ticket to the best jobs.
Right. The perception is that you get a better education there and you pay more for that.
Exactly.
But then we looked at STI.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, STI is a network of colleges all over the Philippines, and they offer a more affordable and accessible path to education. They cater to a wider range of students, a lot of them from more modest backgrounds.
Right.
And here's the really interesting part. Even though STI has lower tuition fees and might not have the same prestige as the Big Four, they're actually more financially successful because they have way more students.
Right.
By making education available to more people, they've built a model that's really successful and sustainable.
Exactly. And so, once again, we see this idea that success isn't always tied to exclusivity or high cost.
Yeah.
Sometimes providing something valuable and accessible to a wider audience can be way more effective.
It's about meeting a need that a lot of people have, not just catering to a small elite.
Exactly. And this idea of accessibility and efficiency really resonated with a personal struggle you were having with video editing.
Yeah, absolutely. For years, I was so frustrated because it seemed like you absolutely needed a super powerful and expensive computer to do any kind of serious video editing.
Right.
It felt like this huge obstacle for a lot of creators who were just getting started. But then I found this interesting workaround using XML files in Adobe Premiere Pro.
Oh, yeah. Can you explain how that XML workflow makes things more efficient?
Yeah, so imagine XML files as these lightweight instructions for your video project.
Okay.
They don't contain the big video files themselves, but they have all the important information about your cuts, your trims, the order of your clips, and things like that. By working with these smaller XML files in the early stages of editing, you can actually get a lot done without needing to render heavy previews or really taxing your computer.
Oh, that's interesting.
It makes the whole workflow way smoother and faster, especially when you're just getting started on a project.
So you can do a lot of the editing work on a less powerful machine, just using these XML instructions. And then you only need the really powerful computer for the final rendering and those complex effects.
Exactly. It was like a light bulb went off for me. And it made me think, if there's this more efficient way of doing things, why isn't it more popular? Why is everyone still telling us we need the most powerful hardware just to start editing video?
And that's exactly the question that sparked the idea for MarkerFlow.
Yeah.
All these observations, from the marketing hype in gaming to the success of accessibility in both gaming and education, and then your own frustration with video editing software, it all came together.
Yeah, it was like all these seemingly random pieces suddenly fit together.
Yeah.
And we started asking, could we make a video editing tool that prioritized efficiency and accessibility instead of just raw processing power? And that was really the inspiration behind MarkerFlow.
And what's cool is that MarkerFlow is kind of similar to lossless scaling in a way.
Oh, yeah, how so?
Well, instead of artificially boosting gaming performance, MarkerFlow is trying to optimize the creative process for video editing. It's about giving creators the tools they need to work smarter, no matter what kind of computer they have.
Exactly. And when you look at the features they're planning for MarkerFlow, it's clear that that's the goal. It's designed to be super lightweight and fast.
Yeah.
So you don't need a crazy expensive machine just to look at your footage and mark the important parts.
Right.
They're using color-coded markers to create a really clear and intuitive organization system.
Yeah.
Which makes it easy to find different types of edits or key moments in your video. And the best part is that it can export directly to Adobe Premiere Pro using XML, which solves the problem I was having.
Right.
It bridges the gap between that initial quick review stage and the more powerful professional editing software.
Exactly. And the fact that it's designed to run on basically any laptop or device that can play video files is huge.
Yeah.
It means almost anyone can start editing videos. And they've even made it specifically easy to use for creating montage videos, which is great because you often have to sort through tons of footage for those.
Right.
And the user interface is supposed to be super beginner friendly, so you don't need to be a video editing pro to use it.
So if you look at the big picture, MarkerFlow really represents this idea of focusing on efficiency and accessibility in a field that's usually all about having the most powerful tools. It levels the playing field for all creators.
It's been an interesting journey. We started by questioning the marketing hype, then we found some interesting insights in areas like gaming and education, and it all culminated in the development of a practical tool.
Yeah.
It challenges the assumption that you always need the most expensive and powerful equipment to achieve high quality.
It really makes you think. How often do we hear that more power is the answer? whether it's for our technology, our software, or even just our approach to problems. What if the real breakthroughs come from finding smarter, more accessible ways to achieve our goals? That's something worth thinking about in your own work and creative endeavors.
I agree.
All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but hopefully this has given you some food for thought. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
MarkerFlow. Watch, mark, edit, simplified.